Welcome back to Order in the Court with Khalif and Brian. Let's talk about this. The reflecting pool in Washington, D.C. President Trump and his administration spent over $14 million to paint it blue with American flag blue at the bottom, but now there's getting algae blooms all over the place. They've tried to fix it. It's created quite an uproar and a stir because there's a lot of people that want to come check out why it looks green with these algae blooms. And now 5 people have been arrested for what they say are vandalism by picking up some of the paint or destroying some grass that is around there. As you can see, some of the arrests that were actually, some of them were made today, Khalif.
Yeah, I mean, those folks, if you wanted to know, they weren't fishing right there. They looked like they were definitely trying to
picking up some of the pool that's coming undone.
And so, and hopefully that's not video evidence of them doing what they are alleging. So the court, I mean, I should say the court, the Trump administration is saying that they will go after people and punish them to the full extent of the law for vandalizing the reflecting pool. And so under what statute are they attempting to do this? It's 18 U.S.C. 1361. Statute provides that whoever willfully injures or commits any depredation against any property of the United States or any department or agency thereof, or any property which has been or been manufactured or constructed for the United States commits the offense and shall be punishable for up to 1 year in prison and $1,000 fine if it's less than $1,000, and up to 10 years in prison, I should say, if it's over $1,000. And so there is an avenue for them to go after these individuals to attempt to convict them. And also I'd have to say that this is for who willfully commits or who willfully attempts to commit. And so you got 2 different options there. If a person was not just vandalizing or depredation against property, that's that we're talking about the destruction, destroying, damaging, misuse, the taking. Any of those things would fall underneath the depredation. But what they're saying is if they are able to show anyone willfully, not on accident, did these things, then yes, they would be able to be punishable up to 1 year of misdemeanor and up to 10 years if it's a felony level.
Understand that. One of the people that were arrested was a 3-time U.S. Olympian, a canoer. And he was arrested after he touched a piece of blue coating that was partially detached from the bottom of the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool.
Yep.
He told ABC News, he said he was able to bend the coating a bit, but, quote, I did not remove, I did not damage, I did not rip, tear, break, destroy, or harm any part of the reflecting pool.
If I'm representing him, I'm first saying don't make any statements. That's the first thing I'm saying. I never want my clients speaking because anything you say can be used against you later.
Let me just go over some of that.
Right. The second part I'd say is that most of these cases are like a person has spray painted something or they damaged a vehicle, or destroyed a fence or some structure. So it's not like permanent damage, right? So part of that when he said I bent it, I don't like that as a defense attorney. Why? Because then it is damaging it, right? It's not I fully tore it up or I fully dislodged it or disconnected it from the bottom of the pool. Yeah, but did you even do anything to harm this? And if you did, would that and could that be enough? And the other thing that I'd say is that if a person is found to have willfully done this and they're able to either show you on video doing it or have some eyewitness statement of you doing it, right? The other thing they're going to have to say is, and that's what I talk about, those 2 variations. How do you calculate how much the piece of the pool that was pulled off is valued at? So if I've taken a quarter size piece out, or if I've taken a 18 by 24 size piece out, do those numbers equal $1,000? Yeah, you know that this was started off at 1.4 million and ballooned up to 14 million. But how do they calculate the amount of damage that one piece like that right there that's hanging? Is that $1,000 worth? Or is that, $950 worth? And that's something that prosecutors will have to be able to show if attempting to prove, hey, we want to go after these folks like President Trump said, to the fullest extent. The fullest extent is the felony version.
Right. So let's talk about the other side, the defense side. You're talking about the prosecution side there. And as a defense attorney, you've got to be somebody looking at your chops here to try to defend something like this, and also didn't understand that there might be some sort of retribution fact in here, because we understand from the reports, President Trump, this has made his number one thing that he talks about in the Oval Office
Yep.
right now,
Yep.
spends a lot of his time trying to fix this problem. And he also said that part of the grass was destroyed with a gigantic 8647 chemically carved into the grass there.
And then he also said that he believes
was
that
obviously
James
from
Comey was inspired by James Comey, as was his statement was.
Mhm.
I say, if I'm defending the pool folks, right, it's lack of intent. That's the first thing I'm saying. My client didn't have any intent to do any depredation to this. They were walking by, they saw something floating, and they picked it up. That's the argument that I would make. And then I dispute the amount of the damages. If they have my client dead to right, there's some video showing them doing it. I'm arguing, well, you know what? That's a quarter-size piece, not a football field size piece. That's probably the only two angles that you would have in terms of defending this type of case. I mean, because it's pretty cut and dry. Either you took it or you didn't. Either you have now injured it at some capacity. And then I'd say my third angle would be, is there case law that clearly defines what depredation is? And I said that a couple times here, that yes, you can see that they've attempted to convict people under the spray painting and the fencing and the vehicles and cutting down trees. I think there's crystal clear on that.
Mhm.
But the layering from the bottom of a pool, it's property of the federal government. So I'm not diminishing it, but I just don't know if there's any case that will be what's called on point. In the legal system, when you're trying to find the strongest piece of evidence, you want to find a case that's similarly situated. Like if I'm looking for a case, for you, I need a case with a guy with a white T-shirt and a green tie. Oh man, I can only find a case with a guy with a blue tie. That wouldn't be on point, and so, yeah, the court may be persuaded by the cases that I bring, but they won't be controlling, and they won't say, well, we have to follow that. I mean, I think there is enough to show that a person taking items that don't belong to them away or removing is going to be hard to stop a prosecution. But again, if they're floating, if you didn't dislodge it, there's nothing in there saying, because this isn't a larceny, so it's not
Yeah.
like with intent to permanently deprive.
You always talk about settling cases. And is this a case that would be settled?
I mean, this may be a case because it's criminal where they plea.
Plea, or you want to go to trial?
Well, you don't want to go to trial if they got you dead.
If they said, okay,
yes, especially if you're facing.
it
Look,
depends. Yeah.
if it's, I mean, if they bring in experts, and I would hate that they would go this route, but if they brought in experts and they're able to say, look, this 18 by 24 inch section was worth $10,000 or something, right? I mean, because think about it. You're talking about this massive reflecting pool, right? We know how long it is, so we can calculate how wide the pool is, how long the pool is. You can also calculate how much they spent on redoing this. And they would say, we can even go to the facts and say, well, how much were the materials? Not just the installation cost and with the people that it took to put it in, but how much did the actual physical materials cost? So they can put a dollar amount on it. And if they're able to say, hey, we got you on tape, and we can show you that this 18 by 24 foot over $1,000, yeah, you're definitely pleading, because you don't want to go to prison for 10 years for taking the bottom of a blue tarp from the bottom of the reflecting pool. So yes, that would be one you would potentially plea. However, if they don't have that smoking gun, there's no video, and they aren't able to prove intent, you're not on social media saying, I'm going to D.C. to get a piece of the pool, I think it's going to be hard for them to prove intent.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.